A Turkish-made TB2 drone. The unmanned drone can hover over tanks and destroy them, seemingly with devastatingly accurate.
The way that the Russian security services and military have been stunned by and were absolutely not ready for.
Russian Black Panther tanks roll out for the first time, their armor wrapped in strange web-like defenses. Within seconds, Ukrainian FPV drones swarm toward them. One tank is hit, abandons crew, hatch wide open. But here's the question. Can cheap disposable drones really tip the scale against machines designed to withstand artillery?
Ukrainian Defense Forces is the surprisingly lethal impact its use of relatively cheap drones has had on Russian forces.
Stick with us because what happens over the next few minutes of this clash reveals how cost, speed, and improvisation may be rewriting the rules of armored warfare entirely. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. A Russian Black Panther tank pushes cautiously into the shadow of the tree line. Its designers shaped it to resist shells, rockets, and even blast waves from modern artillery. Yet from overhead, the threat it faces costs almost nothing in comparison. A small FPV drone, carrying an improvised charge, dives toward the tank with a price tag that is barely a fraction of the armor's value, closer to 1,000th.
Confidence of the Russian military, because this system is flying in Ukraine and it's hitting Russian vehicles, including.
This mismatch of scale sets the tone for the new confrontation, where expensive hardware meets disposable machines flown by volunteer pilots watching tiny screens.
What we're seeing here is an extraordinary assault that not only is it a demonstration of Ukraine's ability to innovate.
The Black Panther itself is no simple upgrade. It carries heavier side skirts than the older T-80 series and has a redesigned turret built to absorb frontal punishment. Russian engineers wrap the chassis in additional plating, aiming to extend survivability during direct fire engagements. Unlike the T-80, which was produced in bulk during the Cold War, the Black Panther represents an adjustment for the current battlefield, where precision strikes land in seconds. Its heavy hull signals why Moscow selected this model for combat. Survivability in close quarters and in contested zones that have already chewed through lighter units. The Ukrainian operators who spot the armored column know they cannot wait. They fly their FPV drones low, weaving them through the gaps at the forest edge, and launch before a formal order reaches them. The moment forces a clear question. Does initiative by skilled pilots outpace the careful engineering that goes into advanced armor?
A Turkish-made TB2 drone. The unmanned drone can hover over tanks and destroy them, seemingly with devastatingly accurate.
Neither side follows the pace of traditional armored warfare. Each clash is dictated by the speed at which someone is willing to react. The first vehicle to roll forward becomes the primary focus of every headset in the Ukrainian drone shelter. Pilots rush its position and squeeze their triggers. An explosion rocks the left flank, and smoke pours through the forest leaves. Inside the machine, at least one crew member panics, opening the hatch and abandoning the vehicle in view of overhead cameras. The steel hatch swings open, the crewman drops from the top, and the sight tells both sides something important.
Strike Russia where it's not expecting it. It's also a clear indication that Russia is not invincible.
The new tank may last longer than a light vehicle, but it is far from untouchable. The numbers are proof enough. A drone with an improvised warhead has a cost of around $500, while the armored platform it just struck represents a multi-million-dollar investment. Every launch tilts the mathematical balance in favor of improvisation. Modern warfare had always carried imbalances in cost.
She has been blamed by Russia on a Ukrainian drone attack. It was one of a series of strikes on Russian military infrastructure this weekend.
Yet never before had the difference been this extreme between an operator wearing a VR headset and a crew confined inside an armored shell. Russia did not remain passive, however. Once vulnerabilities became obvious, their crews began improvising strange defenses of their own. Welded cages stretched over the turrets, Strands of wire hung over the sides, and steel mesh pressed into odd angles. The shapes looked unusual, almost makeshift, but they carried a functional logic, forcing drones either to detonate early or to slide off course before reaching ammo compartments or engine blocks. In footage, these defensive layers distort the silhouette of each vehicle, hiding the sharp outlines military designers usually emphasize.
A way that the Russian security services and military have been stunned by and were absolutely not ready for.
Drone operators admit that often a single strike is not enough. It may take more than 10 drones to bring down a heavily armored machine, depending on where each blast lands and whether defenses hold. This new reality forces strike teams to coordinate in clusters, sending swarms toward a single target instead of dispersing across the battlefield. Coordination becomes key. Multiple pilots lock onto one vehicle, rotating their approach from different angles to overwhelm the cages and wire mesh.
Ukrainians had to great effect against the Russians. One expert has tracked as many as 30 individual strikes against Russian vehicles.
Ukraine has long used long-range drones launched from Ukraine, which then fly into Russian airspace.
Teamwork, not just raw courage, decides the outcome. As Ukrainian units refine their methods, they transition from single kamikaze runs to layered attacks that strike from above, behind, and the sides. They set ambushes where the terrain restricts the armor's maneuvering space. In forests, tanks find themselves trapped by narrow paths, with drones attacking from all directions. Once heavy vehicles fall into such traps, even a convoy can be neutralized before it ever meets infantry or artillery backup.
Its victory in Ukraine is inevitable. This extraordinary operation shows that Ukraine is still in this fight.
Smoke, escape hatches, and abandoned hulls mark the end of their push. So if the first appearance of Russian Black Panthers ended this way, surrounded by buzzing drones and makeshift ambushes, the question shifts toward the future. If this is the early stage, what shape will the next adaptation take? The Black Panther's arrival on the battlefield proved one thing clearly. Advanced armor cannot escape the changing reality of drone warfare. Steel plating and redesigned turrets may slow the damage, but they no longer guarantee survival when hundreds of cheap aerial weapons circle above. That shift forces a closer look at what matters more: building stronger vehicles or outpacing the enemy's improvisation. So here's the question for you. Will swarms of disposable drones permanently outweigh tanks in battle, or will countermeasures catch up in time?
Of projectiles fired from the other's territory into the other's territory. And you rightly said that in the most recent one, it was 126 Ukrainian drones.
In the race unfolding now, it's not stronger machines that decide the future, but faster adaptation.